On June 18, 2002, a father's desperate search began for his missing daughter at the local community pool. At 5:30 p.m., he stumbled upon a sight that would forever alter his life. As he lifted the tarp, he was met with the haunting reality. It was Ali. 911, what is your emergency? The operator asked, her voice steady. I think my daughter's been murdered, he replied, panic gripping him. Does it appear that she's breathing? The operator pressed. I can't tell, he said, his voice faltering. Oh, Ali, honey, Ali, he cried out in anguish. Stay with us. Stay with us. Are you there? The operator's voice cut through the chaos. There is a monster loose in our community. We need to get him off the streets, he insisted, his voice trembling with urgency. He had started to fight with Ali. The scene was set in the summer of 2002. 19-year-old Ali Kemp had returned home from college, her family residing in the suburb of Leawood, known as one of Kansas's safest havens, a place where doors were left unlocked and the unthinkable rarely occurred. The bright-eyed college student had taken a summer job as a lifeguard at the neighborhood pool, working alongside her brother. On that fateful day, June 18th, Ali was expected to be on duty, her family unaware of the tragedy about to unfold. The day was overcast and cool, far from ideal for a pool outing. A witness recalled, I went to work. Ali later went to the pool, and I got home about 5:20. At that moment, Ali's brother, Tyler, was on the phone with their mother, unaware of the dread that lay ahead. Tyler shared that he had gone to the pool to relieve Ali of her duties but couldn't find her. Meanwhile, Roger Kemp, Ali's father, rushed to the pool, anxiety coursing through him as he searched for his beloved daughter. Upon arrival, Roger's heart sank as he spotted Ali's car still parked in the lot. I looked in the pool, looked in the deep end, looked at the bottom, I looked around the grounds, he recounted, desperation rising within him. He searched tirelessly, moving to the baby pool, peering behind it, yet finding no trace of his daughter. He soon noticed Ali's belongings left untouched on the counter, her purse, cell phone, and car keys, all hinting at a mystery that demanded answers. I went into the pump room and couldn't see very well, he recalled. I looked around and walked to the back of the pump room. I looked behind the pumps. As I was walking out, I turned around and saw a leg sticking out from under a tarp. With trembling hands, he lifted the tarp, revealing a horrifying sight. That was Ali, he uttered, dread consuming him. 911, what is your emergency? He frantically reported. My daughter's not moving and she's lying in the pool house. How old is she? The operator asked, her tone calm but urgent. She's 19, he replied, overwhelmed. Oh, Ali, he cried, the weight of despair crashing down upon him. Stay with us, stay with us. Are you there? He pleaded. She's not moving. The horror of the moment gripped him as he fought to maintain hope. Ali, honey, Ali, don't do it, he begged, desperation evident in his voice. Does it appear that she's breathing? The operator inquired. I can't tell, he replied, lost in a fog of disbelief. In a state of shock, Roger struggled to comprehend the nightmare unfolding before him. As he found her, he rolled her over, the brutality of the scene shattering his heart. First responders arrived to a chilling scene. The lifeless body of the 19-year-old lay naked on the cold concrete floor, clinging to the thread of life that hung by a fragile thread. Ali was rushed to the hospital, her family gathering in a frantic race against time. Ali, the most beautiful, innocent, sweetest thing, did absolutely nothing to deserve this, her father lamented, grief-stricken. The day Ali was born was the happiest day of my life, Roger reflected, a bittersweet smile breaking through his sorrow. She was a wonderful daughter. She was so kind and so sweet. She adored her parents. The college student was every parent's dream, kind and loving. She had perfect grades and excelled in everything she tried, he continued, pride lacing his voice. In high school, she was involved in nearly 19 student activities. She was in an honor society. She had all these things going for her. We felt for years, as doctors fought desperately to save her life. Ali Kemp was determined to make a difference in this world. Meanwhile, at the crime scene, investigators were already on the hunt for a suspect, sifting through the chaos of evidence left behind. The pump room was a scene of disarray, cluttered with various equipment scattered haphazardly. Ali's flip-flops, remnants of her last moments, lay in different corners, a haunting reminder of the struggle that ensued. The scene was chilling. Blood splatter marked the struggle that had unfolded, a testament to Ali's desperate fight against her assailant. Numerous injuries adorned her fingers, and the haunting evidence of blunt force trauma marred her face. In addition, the back of her head bore the scars of violence. As investigators examined the bloodstains, questions loomed. Was it solely the victim's blood, or could it also belong to her attacker? DNA tests would soon reveal the truth. The results confirmed that the blood belonged to a male. The investigators now held a potential lead, the DNA of the assailant. However, as they ran the profile through their database, hope dwindled. There were no matches to anyone with a criminal record. Their only recourse was to seek out potential witnesses. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Roger Kemp anxiously paced outside the operating room, grappling with uncertainty over his daughter's fate. Friends, family, and concerned citizens flooded the hospital, their collective hope hanging by a thread. They all clung to the belief that Ali might survive. But when a doctor and nurse finally emerged, their expressions told a grim story. Despite their relentless efforts, the unthinkable was confirmed. Ali Kemp had succumbed to her injuries on June 18, 2002. The world felt unbearably heavy as they moved from the hospital to the funeral home, where Ali was taken to the morgue. Roger refused to let her be alone, spending the night there, a devoted father unwilling to abandon his daughter in her darkest hour. News of the tragedy spread like wildfire through the community, leaving everyone in shock. The entrance to Foxborough Pool became a somber gathering place, filled with friends and neighbors paying their respects. Flowers and mementos adorned the area, honoring a young life extinguished far too soon. As reporters covered the story, the crowd continued to swell, each person hoping for justice. A mother of two expressed her anguish, revealing the universal fear that gripped the community. The question echoed in the air. How could such a monster exist among them? Roger Kemp, faced with unimaginable grief, bore a look that spoke volumes. His face, a portrait of pain, reflected the torment of a father grappling with the loss of his beloved daughter. Each day felt like an endless nightmare, filled with questions that haunted him. A mother's anguish is difficult to articulate. Ali was beloved, her vibrant spirit known throughout the community. The news of her death sent shockwaves, leaving many in disbelief. A monster was loose, and the urgency to capture him intensified. When I first encountered Roger Kemp, his visage was etched with sorrow. Those initial days felt like an endless nightmare with questions racing through his mind. Who could have committed such a heinous act? How could this happen? The search for the predator weighed heavily on him. Faced with despair, he contemplated his choices, to hide away or to confront the darkness head-on. Determined, he chose action. With a fierce resolve, he declared that while Ali had fought for her life, he would fight for justice. Roger Kemp emerged as a remarkable father, driven by an unwavering quest to uncover the truth behind his daughter's tragic fate. He transformed into a warrior, a champion for Ali, tirelessly making public appearances to raise awareness. As the investigation shifted gears from an assault to a violent murder, the detectives intensified their efforts. They had to eliminate suspects closest to Ali to narrow down their search. In cases like this, it is essential to clear family, close friends, and boyfriends from suspicion immediately. At the top of this list was Ali's boyfriend, Phil. Upon their analysis of her cell phone records, police discovered that Ali had reached out to Phil at 2:50 p.m., mere hours before her lifeless body was discovered. It was revealed that Phil, her devoted boyfriend of 5 years, had also been working at the same pool and had covered the shift prior to Ali's arrival. During questioning, the young man appeared visibly shaken yet willing to cooperate. He was, after all, the last person known to have seen Ali alive. In the interview, he recounted how he had gone to another pool after parting ways with her. Phil willingly provided his DNA when requested, clearly engulfed in grief and disbelief over the horrific circumstances surrounding Ali's death. He expressed the profound difficulty of coming to terms with her tragic fate. Friends and family would attest that Phil was a genuinely good person, a sentiment echoed by Roger. When asked about any possibility of his involvement, Phil vehemently denied it, asserting, "No way." At just 19 years old, their 5-year relationship had been filled with love. After conducting DNA tests, authorities confirmed that Ali's boyfriend was not a match. He had also validated his alibi, proving he was indeed at another pool during the time of the murder. However, while Phil was cleared of suspicion, he provided investigators with critical insights. He revealed that Ali had confided in him about her fears of being stalked, expressing concern about feeling watched when she was alone. She had confided to Phil her discomfort regarding the workers who mowed the grass and tended to the garden, claiming their lingering gazes made her uneasy. On one occasion, she had asked Phil to stay longer at the pool while those workers were present, seeking comfort in his company. Eventually, around 2:15 p.m., she reassured him that it was safe for him to leave, as the workers had departed. When police interviewed the 2 lawn care workers who had been on site that day, they uncovered alarming information. A tan 1980s Ford pickup had circled the parking lot multiple times before speeding away. But that was not the only eerie detail. Just the day prior to the attack, the workers reported having seen a man lurking near the pool. 3 witnesses described him as hiding in the bushes, armed with a camera, seemingly fixated on the girls present that day. As the investigation into the tragic death of the young lifeguard began to unravel, police made their most significant breakthrough yet. One of the calls Ali had placed that day was to a friend, requesting her company at the pool, given her solitude. Witnesses began to surface, recounting their observations. 3 individuals reported seeing a man lurking around the pool, hiding in the bushes, armed with a camera, seemingly fixated on the young women present. As the investigation deepened, police uncovered a significant lead. One of the calls made by the young lifeguard that fateful day was to a friend, requesting her company at the pool as she found herself alone. It became apparent that this friend may have unwittingly crossed paths with the killer. At precisely 3:15, her friend arrived at the pool. Hesitant to leave her car, she honked the horn, hoping to summon Ali from the attendant's table inside. As she scanned the area, she noticed a male figure standing nearby, but he was unfamiliar to her. The pieces of the puzzle were slowly beginning to align, yet the mystery remained shrouded in darkness. Witnesses described the man as a white male, likely in his 30s, with thinning hair that suggested he was balding. He carried a pail, greeting her with a nod and a wave. Fear gripped her heart, as she feared he might be Ali's boss. Concerned about the potential trouble she could cause Ali for honking the horn, she quickly left the scene. The friend was soon brought to the police station to meet with a sketch artist. The resulting image was disseminated to every news outlet in the city, hoping for a lead. Alongside the description of a Ford pickup truck, the grim news of Ali's brutal murder surfaced. Detectives were adamant that they would identify the perpetrator, as over 20 Metro Squad detectives were on the case. However, uncertainty loomed. Authorities were unable to confirm whether the man spotted in the bushes was the same individual seen at the pool on the fateful day of the murder. Armed with over 1,000 copies of the police-released sketch, Ali Kemp's friends dedicated hours to posting them around town. Since Ali's murder a week prior, the hotline had been buzzing. Yet with the sketches now in the public eye, calls flooded in, overwhelming the lines. In those initial days, police received more than 400 leads. The community rallied, focused on finding the killer, yet the tips yielded little in solid results. By July 2002, Roger Kemp, along with his family, announced a reward for any information leading to the capture of the killer. The hotline offered a $1,000 reward for tips that would secure a conviction. Yet Roger Kemp felt the urgency for more. Determined to generate fresh leads, he relentlessly raised funds, ultimately amassing a staggering $50,000. Roger Kemp was tireless in his pursuit to keep his daughter's case alive in the public consciousness. "We don't want to overlook anything," he expressed, "because even the smallest detail might be crucial." His plea was clear. "Please call in those leads. We just need to catch this guy. We cannot let him victimize anyone else." The search for justice quickly escalated into a national effort as the sketch circulated among major news outlets across the country. Kansas State Police began receiving calls about possible suspects from all corners of the nation, but the leads proved fruitless. The whereabouts of the suspect remained a mystery. By February 2003, more than 8 months had passed since Ali's murder. The killer continued to elude capture until a name resurfaced: James Strader. Roughly 3 to 4 months into the investigation, authorities received an initial lead identifying James Strader, whose appearance closely matched the composite sketch. James Strader was wanted in Missouri and Kansas for a series of brutal rapes, and was being questioned regarding Ali Kemp's murder in Leawood, Kansas. Not only did he resemble the suspect, but his history of violence against women made him a person of intense interest, especially after he fled from authorities. Law enforcement was anxious to bring him into custody for questioning in connection with Ali's murder and to imprison this 3-time convicted felon for good. The breakthrough came when James Strader was apprehended during a routine traffic stop in a town in Utah. Finally, the suspect was in custody. "Driver's license and registration, please," the officer instructed. James Strader had been pulled over in Richfield the previous night, having skipped refueling in Salina. His arrest marked a pivotal moment in the investigation. In a startling turn of events, it was reported that a man had allegedly fled without paying for gas at a local station. Witnesses observed the lone vehicle at the pump, and moments later, he vanished into thin air. A concerned bystander promptly contacted the police, prompting a swift response. Soon after, James Strader pulled into a service station in Richfield, only to find the Richfield police waiting for him. Detective Langer, eagerly anticipating this moment, hurried down to confront Strader directly. Accompanied by detectives from the sheriff's office, I made my way outside to witness the unfolding drama. Upon speaking with Strader, he vehemently denied any involvement in the murder of Ali Kemp. Detective Langer had heard this familiar refrain before, but his focus was singular. He needed Strader's DNA to move the investigation forward. Without delay, Langer dispatched the DNA sample to the lab for testing. However, when the results returned, the news was nothing short of devastating. James Strader was not the killer. Shockwaves rippled through the investigation team. Disbelief hung heavy in the air as Roger Kemp recounted the moment in utter astonishment. Everyone had been so certain of Strader's guilt. Roger reflected on the emotional roller coaster of the investigation, feeling as though he had reached both the highest and lowest points of his life. The depths of despair set in as the realization dawned that they had yet to capture the true perpetrator. Throughout the investigation, Roger was haunted by an overwhelming fear that the case would slip into cold case obscurity. He had witnessed families devastated by similar tragedies, their loved ones lost to unsolved mysteries. The weight of his heartache was palpable. He felt as though it was already shattered. In homicide investigations, time becomes the enemy. Research indicates that if a murder case remains unresolved for over 6 months, the chances of it ever being solved diminish by nearly 50%. Each day that passed felt like a ticking clock, worsening the likelihood of justice for Ali and her grieving family. Countless families are left in the dark, yearning for closure, much like the hundreds of thousands of unsolved murder cases spanning the globe. June 18, 2003 marked 1 year since Ali's tragic murder, and Roger fought valiantly to maintain hope amidst dwindling leads. Driving down the interstate one fateful day, Roger's gaze fell upon a billboard, a beacon of visibility. With thousands of eyes passing by, he suddenly had an idea. Why not use this large canvas to help find the person responsible for his daughter's death? In that moment, he realized this was a groundbreaking concept, one that had never been attempted before in a case like his. Deep down, he was skeptical about its effectiveness, yet he knew that desperate times called for desperate measures. People often react to what they see, and sometimes that visual prompt is enough to inspire someone to finally make that crucial phone call saying, "You know, we think you should look at this guy." The potential value of that insight was incalculable. As Roger passed those billboards on the highway, a profound sadness washed over him. The reality that Ali's killer remained at large loomed heavily, yet a flicker of hope emerged. Perhaps someone, somewhere, would remember something vital. The emotional weight of the situation was palpable. As she drove past the billboards lining the highway, a deep sadness washed over her. The knowledge that the perpetrator was still out there was haunting, yet a flicker of hope remained that someone, somewhere, might see the billboard and remember. The hope was that it would spark a memory, that a passerby might recall seeing something crucial. Once the billboard was erected, tips began flooding in faster than ever before. It didn't take long for the police to receive a significant lead. Multiple callers reported a man named Ted Hoover, whose description aligned perfectly with the suspect. He drove an old tan pickup truck and owned a pool company. One caller even provided the police with Hoover's address. Detective John Dickey approached the home, noting the maroon Ford pickup parked in the driveway. He knocked on the door, and Mr. Hoover answered. However, Hoover was evasive, unable to recall his whereabouts on the day of Ali's homicide. Seeing the opportunity, Detective Dickey asked if Hoover would consent to provide a DNA sample. But Hoover hesitated, insisting he needed to consult with his lawyer before making any decisions. The refusal raised red flags. In such cases, a denial often speaks volumes. Determined to track him down, investigators scoured databases across the country, but to no avail. Ted Hoover had seemingly vanished. Then, a potential breakthrough arose. They discovered that Hoover might have a girlfriend in Connecticut. After reaching out to the local post office, the detectives confirmed that a male was residing at her address under the name Benjamin Appleby, indicating that their suspect had likely changed his identity. Without delay, law enforcement in Connecticut was contacted, and they were instructed to place Benjamin Appleby under surveillance. As the investigation unfolded, authorities found that the name Teddy Hoover had been flagged in connection with several years-old warrants for indecent exposure, suggesting a link to the man they were pursuing. The Connecticut State Police acted swiftly, agreeing to arrest Appleby on the outstanding warrant. He was taken into custody at a modest home situated on a busy road in rural Litchfield County. In a shocking twist, Appleby was not only wanted for indecent exposure, but also for risk of injury to a minor and disorderly conduct. On November 8, 2004, more than 2 years after the tragic murder of Ali Kemp, investigators finally had their suspect in custody. Yet, without a DNA sample, their case remained precarious. When confronted by detectives from Connecticut, Appleby expressed reluctance to provide a DNA sample, questioning what would happen if he refused. The detectives assured him that they would acquire it, one way or another. Ultimately, under pressure, he consented, and the DNA was collected. But the urgent need for a confession outweighed the wait for test results. As Benjamin Appleby entered the interrogation room, he was met by detectives from the Kansas State Police, who had meticulously staged the room to create an atmosphere of intimidation. A wall-sized poster displayed his image in the center, surrounded by a web of evidence designed to highlight his central role in the investigation. Upon taking his seat, Appleby's demeanor shifted. His eyes widened as he absorbed the overwhelming evidence displayed around him. In a moment of unexpected candor, he admitted, "I kind of lied to you." The detectives, intrigued, pressed him for details. When confronted by the Connecticut detective, Benjamin Appleby was reluctant to provide DNA, questioning what the consequences would be if he refused. The detectives assured him, "We'll get it one way or another." Ultimately, he consented, and his DNA was collected. Yet investigators did not intend to wait for the test results. They craved a confession. When Benjamin Appleby entered the interrogation room, he was met with detectives from the Kansas State Police who had set the stage to intimidate him. A wall-sized poster of his picture dominated the room. Surrounding it were various pieces of evidence, all connected with arrows pointing back to him, illustrating why he was the prime suspect in their investigation. As he sat down, his eyes widened in realization. He scanned the room, fixated on the link chart with his image at the center. Breaking under the pressure, he confessed, "You know, I kind of lied to you." Intrigued, the detectives probed further, asking, "Really? About what?" He answered, "Well, I was at that pool." Their psychological tactics were proving more effective than they had anticipated. They urged him to elaborate. "Can you tell us what you remember? What exactly happened that day?" He began recounting, "I went into the pool area with the intention of looking at the pool to get to business. On that fateful day, June 18th, 2002, Ted Hoover, also known as Benjamin Appleby, drove into the parking lot of the Leawood local pool. From a distance, he spotted Ali Kemp and decided to approach her, confident that his pool company uniform would make him appear harmless. As Ali entered the pump room, Hoover seized the moment, believing he could make small talk without raising suspicion. He recalled, "I hit on her. I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was just casual conversation." With a calculated move, Hoover attempted to strike up a conversation, though the specifics of his words eluded him. It was clear, however, that Ali showed no interest, her instincts kicking in as she began to sidestep him. As Ali's wariness grew, she tried to navigate around him, but in a moment of desperation, he seized her, blocking her escape. In a horrifying account, Hoover recounted that he reached out, a mere touch on her shoulder or hip, but Ali instinctively retaliated, pushing him back and delivering a punch. Enraged, he lost control, stripping her of her clothes with a twisted intent. His assault escalated as he struck her repeatedly, confessing that he didn't remember how many blows he delivered. Each hit resonated with a chilling finality, his actions spiraling out of control as the interrogation progressed. Detective John Dickey confronted him with stark clarity, asking, "You killed her, didn't you?" In a moment that sent shivers down the spine, Hoover admitted, "Yeah, I did," revealing the brutal truth that Ali had been strangled. Haunted by the act, Hoover confessed that he didn't even recall the weapon he had used, nor the reason behind his heinous act. After Ali slipped into unconsciousness, he callously covered her body with a nearby blue tarp, leaving her lifeless form behind as if it were nothing. His chilling admission echoed in the ears of those who heard it. They were convinced they had finally captured the monster who had taken Ali Kemp away from them. Determined to ensure he wouldn't evade justice again, Ted Hoover faced trial in November 2005 for the rape and first-degree murder of Ali Kemp. On December 5th, after a mere 2 hours of deliberation, the jury delivered a verdict that brought a collective sigh of relief. "We, the jury, find the defendant guilty." The words guilty reverberated, a long-awaited moment for Ali Kemp's friends and family, who had suffered since her tragic death. Her father, Roger Kemp, had discovered her brutalized body at the neighborhood pool where she worked that summer of 2002. Justice had finally been served. Though the pain of loss would never fade, Roger Kemp found solace in knowing that Ted Hoover, now known as Benjamin Appleby, would spend 50 years to life in prison, barred from returning to the streets. In the wake of his daughter's tragic death, Roger had become a relentless advocate, embodying the spirit of every father who fears for their child's safety. He refused to let Ali's death be in vain. Driven by a mission to protect others, Roger and his wife initiated a self-defense program for young girls, naming it the Ali Kemp Educational Foundation. Their first class, held in the basement of Lewis City Hall, saw 12 participants eager to learn. Since then, an astonishing 68,000 individuals have passed through their doors, with countless women reaching out to express gratitude, claiming, "Your program saved my life." For Roger, it was never just about numbers. Even saving a single life made his efforts worthwhile. Beyond self-defense classes, Roger Kemp collaborated with law enforcement on a nationwide billboard campaign, shining a light on the faces of wanted criminals and bringing hope to families of long-forgotten victims. His tireless work offered a glimmer of hope, ensuring that the stories of those lost would not fade into obscurity. Roger Kemp continued his fight, unwavering in his commitment to protect future generations from the tragedies that had shattered his own. In a world rife with tragedy, few stories resonate as deeply as that of Roger Kemp. Invited to the White House by the President of the United States, Roger found himself honored in a ceremony that recognized his relentless pursuit of justice. Yet this accolade came against the backdrop of his worst nightmare, the abduction of his beloved daughter, Ali. Bound by immeasurable pain and grief, Roger channeled his heartache into a mission to forge a safer future for generations to come. His foundation emerged as a beacon of hope, offering women of all ages vital self-defense training, empowering them to reclaim their sense of security. Through his innovative billboard campaign, which displayed the faces of wanted criminals, Roger's efforts have led to numerous arrests, including the pivotal conviction of Ali's murderer. In recognition of his unwavering commitment, the United States honors Roger Kemp, a man transformed by tragedy into a champion for change. "This certainly is not the way we wanted Ali to make a difference in the world," Roger reflected, his voice heavy with emotion. "But you know, I am very, very proud of her." With a heart filled with hope, he added, "I hope she would appreciate what we're doing. I hope she'd be proud. I believe she would be." While they could not save Ali, Roger and his foundation have undoubtedly saved countless women, ensuring that Ali's legacy continues to shine brightly in the lives they touch.